of independent newspapers. Northeast Independent and the North Kingstown Chamber of Commerce are sponsoring this candidate forum tonight. I'm joined by Chris Keegan, the Associate Editor of Independent Newspapers, and Martha Pugh, the Executive Director of the North Kingstown Chamber of Commerce. Tonight we've brought in the candidates for North Kingstown School Committee. Our next, after we finish with them, we'll have the General Assembly candidates. The audience will ask to refrain from, to please be silent during the forum and refrain from any commentary or applause until the end of the evening. That'll let us get in more questions. If you could also just take a second and set your cell phones to vibrate or silent so that they aren't going off. The format is pretty straightforward. Each candidate will have a 2 minutes to make an opening statement. And then Chris and Martha will begin asking questions of the candidates with them getting 1 minute to answer. The candidates are seated in alphabetical order. We will start from left to right and then move down, move to the other, and alternate. Closing statements will be 2 minutes and will begin in the opposite order. The questions came from the Independent, the Chamber, our readership, Chamber members, and from tonight's audience. They will be picked randomly. We have a bowl for Chamber questions and a bowl for Independent and reader-submitted and audience-submitted questions. Maura, could you raise your hand? Maura will be keeping time and will give you a 10-second and a 5-second warning. A quick reminder that this is a forum, not a debate. So we're looking for your opinions, and we'll ask you not to attack your opponent or ask them direct questions. If we feel a candidate has been attacked, we will reserve the right to allow them a 30-second rebuttal. Video from tonight's forum will be available on the Independent's website, independentri.com, the Chamber's website, northkingstown.com, and will be replayed on public access television, which is Cox Channel 17 and Verizon Channel 37. There will be stories about it in next week's paper. We also have the election tabs at the back of the room that have the information on all of the North Kingstown races. So please feel free to pick up a few of those. Thank you all for braving the weather and the tree and all that tonight and for coming out and joining us. And I'm going to turn the evening over to Chris and Martha.
Welcome to the candidates and welcome to all of you. Can you hear me in the back?
No.
Okay, this microphone is hardly on at all. I have 5 siblings, so I can talk really loud. So at this point, we're going to ask for opening statements from the candidates, and we'll start with Mr. Blasbog. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Gregory Blasbog, and I'm a candidate for the North Kingstown School Committee. First, I want to thank the Chamber and the Independent for having us all here and all of you coming out on a not
Can't hear you either.
Okay. I'll try to talk louder as well. Better? Okay.
Go right into the mic.
So, hello, that worked. Okay. So, thank you for coming. I'm a lifelong Rhode Island resident, and I've lived in the town of North Kingstown and been an active member of our community for the past 14 years. I've been an active volunteer with the PTO in my children's schools, and I'm also presently a volunteer member of the Board of Directors of the Davisville Free Library. My wife and I have 3 elementary school children in the North Kingstown Public Schools, so as a parent and a taxpayer, I'm fully aware of the impact that both our schools and our tax bills have on the citizens of North Kingstown. Additionally, my professional experience as an attorney has provided me with the skills necessary to scrutinize our school budget, which represents nearly 2/3 of our town's expenditures. After running for this position 4 years ago, I decided that, successful or not, I'd continue to attend the school committee meetings as if I'd been elected and continue to follow the agendas and issues that they were presented with. I've been personally present at most of the school committee meetings over the past 4 years and regularly attended meetings at the budget subcommittee during that time. I've closely followed 4 complete budget cycles, and I'm very familiar with the issues and challenges that our school committee faces. Both the town and our schools have given a great deal to my family and me. I've never been the type of person who stands by when I feel that there's something that I can contribute, and this is no exception. I feel that I can put my experience and skills to work to give back to our community by serving as a member of the school committee, and it's for that reason that I respectfully ask for your support in the vote come this November. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Larry Cerisi. I'm a candidate for a school committee. I've been on the school committees. I've been on the school committee since 2006 for 8 years. 7 out of those 8 years, I've either served as the vice chairman or the chairman of the school committee. I'm born and raised here in Rhode Island, and I've lived in North Kingstown for 18 years. I have 2 sons, Nicholas, who graduated from North Kingstown High School in 2009, and Ryan, who's currently a junior at North Kingstown High School. I worked for the Rhode Island Department of Corrections for the past 25 years, where I'm currently in the rank of lieutenant. And I participated, prior to my time serving on the school committee, I served on the school district's local advisory committee for special education as the chairman, better known as CELAC. And I also served on the governor's board for assistive technology and education as well. So the education is a passion of mine. Working with children is a passion of mine. And I just look to continue to volunteer my time to the schools and the community and the taxpayers, and work together with everyone to handle the difficult, and especially budgetary challenges that have and will continue to confront us, as well as the education regulations and guidelines and mandates that we continue to see come from federal and state government, that the local districts and local taxpayers, unfortunately, will be, in some cases, will be required to follow through with and to administer. So, thank you.
The questions that the Chamber of Commerce is asking have been sent to the Chamber by a number of residents, and the Chamber Board and staff have come up with the other questions. So our first question is, do you see a place in North Kingstown schools for business interaction? And if so, how? And if no, why not?
I'm first, I think, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, absolutely. One of the things that I know that the school department is trying to expand upon are internships and fellowships and cooperation with our local businesses, whether it be more vocational opportunities at Quonset Point, Davisville, the businesses that are there, or even within local businesses within the town. So it's something I fully support. I think it gives our students, at least at the high school level, the opportunity to gain some experience and bring them closer to whatever their career goal might be.
Thank you. Earlier today, Mr. Glassberg and I had the opportunity to participate in a candidate forum at the North Kingstown High School, where it was the students' opportunity to ask questions. And if I remember correctly, one of the questions that was asked from the student was particularly that business opportunity, VOTEC opportunities. So, that's something obviously that the students are interested in and look for additional opportunities as well. We have the largest industrial park in the state, and one of the largest in the Northeast region, right here in our backyard in Quonset Point. We've worked to form some business partnerships with Quonset Point. We're continuing on that path, particularly with Electric Bolt. We've worked to start a robotics program at the middle schools and high school this year, and I'm running out of time, but that's okay. But we're going to continue on that path to expand those opportunities. Thank you.
Next question from the Independent. Do you think the school committee does enough to be open and transparent? Starting with Mr. Stressy.
Well, one of the reasons I originally got involved in 2006 and even before then, 2004, as a parent, as a taxpayer, is I felt that the current administration and school committee from that time was anything but transparent. And that was one of the main reasons, as I said, as a parent, advocate, and taxpayer, I got myself involved. I think the transparency of the school committee and the administration has greatly improved. Can we improve on that even more? Sure we can. You could never have the books open to the public enough. It is your tax dollars, my tax dollars that is funding these programs, whether it be federal, state, or local tax dollars, one way or the other. We're all paying for it. So, your school district, it's your dollars, so you should certainly be involved in the process. And we've put committees in place to be more transparent and involve the community more in the process. Thank you.
I have to say that as someone, as I mentioned, who's been attending the meetings regularly for a while now, I've been impressed by the transparency. I'm not a member of the school committee, but I've been able, as a citizen, just like any one of you, to download not only the agendas, but the full public agenda packet that goes along with it, which gives the background information on different contracts or items or proposals that are being brought forth at a particular meeting. And I've been very surprised at how much I can get. That includes things like having access to labor contracts when necessary, and the school department's been very forthcoming in answering questions when I've had them. That being said, I agree with Mr. Cerisi that there shouldn't be anything to hide. When members of the public want to speak at committee meetings, I am a full supporter of the open citizens comments portion of the meeting, as well as making as much as absolutely possible available to the public, whatever we can.
If you had an opportunity to reorganize education and still deliver quality instruction at a lower cost, how would you do this?
Sorry, I keep losing track.
I'm losing track
I
too.
think I was first this time.
Okay.
That, if I knew the answer to that question, I think we could solve our entire country's educational dilemma. And as a first-time, hopefully, member of the committee, I'm not sure I'd be able to do that. But I mean, the key to keeping the cost of education down are making sure that we work within the system that we have. So our expenditures come up in the dealings with the employees and labor when it comes down to renewing contracts and working with it, whether it be on the administration side, whether it be on the staffing side. It's making sure that we're maintaining our school buildings and putting aside enough money so that the problems that are going to come down the road get addressed before they're too big. All of these things, as well as consolidation whenever possible, whether it be consolidating services with the town of North Kingstown. We have a lot of overlapping services that don't necessarily have to be there. We're dealing with consolidation in the form of purchase contracts with the state or other municipalities so that we can get the best deal we can on materials.
We can't continue to see these large tax increases that we've seen in past years. So when you're faced with the economic and budgetary challenges that we've been faced with over the past several years and will continue to be faced with, you have to look at your organization and you have to look at the strategic plan of your organization and the mission statement of your organization. Our organization is education. Our mission is education. So we have to look at all those things outside the core mission and make sure that we are as efficient as possible. And what I'm referring to specifically is when you start to talk about areas like grounds maintenance, custodial work, snow plowing, everything that takes place basically outside of the educational process. Now, I'm not saying that these things aren't important. They certainly are important. But when you look to tighten up, you have to look everywhere, but particularly in the places that are not directly related to your core mission. You need to focus on your mission. Thank you.
Is the district making the best use of its facilities? Is there anything you would like to change in that area, Mr. Cerisi?
Thank you. As far as facilities, I hope I'm answering the question. I'm not exactly sure specifically what the question's asking. All of our buildings are pretty close to capacity. We look to be efficient, whether it be consolidating buildings, using less space that we're spending money on for heating and electricity and so on and so forth. As far as the facilities outside of school times, they are available to both public and private organizations at a rental fee. That rental fee is dictated by a policy that the school district has that's available right on its website to, of course, generate some revenue to put into the school budget. I'm not sure I'm answering the question, and I apologize if I'm not, so thank you.
Similarly to what Mr. Christie said, as far as I can say is using the facilities efficiently. I know that the administration has made some recent moves with respect to realigning where certain things are located, making use of the vacant but soon to not be vacant Davisville Elementary School, for example. Just looking at capacity of the buildings, they're much closer to capacity than they had been in years past. While enrollment's been dropping over the past, that's the trend. We've also been shrinking the number of schools. So if you look over the past 15 years, we have 2 less elementary schools than we once did. So things are a little more compact, particularly in the elementary school level. I think it's something that you can always look at and make sure that you're using them efficiently, and it should be a continuing task.
Okay, I got this down. When I'm up here, it's Greg goes first. When Chris is here, it's Larry first.
I'm glad you got it.
Rocket science, huh? Recently, the school committee approved a capital improvement plan for $22 million in long-term infrastructure needs. How would you propose funding capital improvement projects for the school district in the future?
Okay. The first part of funding capital improvement projects is working with the town council in making sure that the council is providing the school department with the funds that are necessary to do that. A number of years back, the council would earmark a specific amount and set aside it for a capital improvement plan, and somewhere along the line that fell away, and that hasn't been happening as much as it once did. So that's something that we really need to work on, and I'm committed to working closely with the council, whatever the makeup is come November, because these two boards need to work together. It's not a situation that can be adversarial. We're all on the same team. We need to make sure things get done. As a last resort, bond financing is sometimes necessary. You can't have very large purchases or building construction without that. It's not everything can be planned for, but the go-to is to have a plan in place so that bond financing is not necessary unless it's a project that truly calls for it.
Thank you. As Greg said, a number of years back, the town council would earmark $500,000 annually to be put into the school district's capital improvement budget for annual capital improvement expenses. That hasn't happened, if memory serves me correct, in the past 6 years. And it's somewhat understandable given the financial and budgetary difficulties we've seen over the last 5 or 6 years. However, the maintenance needs and repairs of these buildings does not go away or will not wait, much like a leaky roof at your house or a leaky hot water tank at your house or a failing boiler won't wait. So it's important that we budget for these things and we prioritize, which is the capital improvement plan. It is prioritizing the difference between what we want and what we need. I mean, we always, have unlimited wants but limited resources, so it's important to have those priorities in place. Thank you.
What will you do to retain Jamestown High School students, since they may have a choice between Jamestown and Narragansett next year? Mr. Espresso.
Great question. Jamestown tuition provides, Jamestown pays North Kingstown roughly $2 million a year in tuition fees. How that number is arrived at, it's roughly $11,000 per student. They pay per student, so you multiply the tuition amount times the number of students, usually brings us to roughly around $2 million. We've seen a decline in enrollment from Jamestown, whether there's just less Jamestown students or more students going to private schools or charter schools. We've seen a decline in enrollment, which is a decline in revenue for us. We need to, as a school committee, as a community, continue to work on our relationship and strengthen our relationship with Jamestown to keep this partnership together. People talk about consolidation and regionalization. We have the best example of it in these paired high schools. Unfortunately, there's been some incidents that have happened over the past couple of years that I think is... That's okay, thank you.
The Jamestown students bring a great deal to our high school. They do it culturally, they do it academically, and they allow our high school to provide for electives and programs that we wouldn't be able to do without those students there. They give us more students as a whole, and they're an important revenue source. And we need to work with them, and when I say them, it's meaning the citizens of Jamestown as well as their representatives on the school committee. Unfortunately, there are some members of the school committee, and there's been some hostility towards that relationship over the past few years, which has really pushed Jamestown in other directions. And what the relationship is it's really a business relationship that we have on the political level. When you're talking about negotiating those contracts, we need to recognize it as that. And that works both ways. That means we need to make sure that we're providing their students with a top-notch education so that they want to come to us. But it also means that we need to make sure that we're being adequately compensated and protecting our taxpayers when we provide those services. So we need to work with them.
This will be the last question from the community and so forth before we go to closing statements. So here it is. Why is it necessary to spend an additional $60,000 to rent space for administration when we have Davisville Elementary School that could be used?
Okay. I am not currently a member of the school committee, so I have not seen all of the hard data that goes behind what was adopted a week ago now with respect to that lease. I was present at the meeting where it was discussed, and I know the answer that was given, and until I see more behind the scenes, that's the answer I would give. It's going to save a tremendous amount in heating and utility costs in a very inefficient building in the administration right now. And it will also allow them to relocate some resources. So the Davisville Elementary School is not going to be vacant. Some of the administration is currently in the administration building, I'm told, is going to be moved over to that facility. So they're going to be making use of some of that space. I have not yet seen exactly the numbers to make sure that they're using that space as well as they can, and that's something I'd like to take a look at. But from the way it was explained at that meeting, as an overall, when you consider the maintenance cost of that building, when you consider the savings in utilities, it is a short-term solution to what is a long-term problem. And it allows them to not make a drastic decision now and put it off. Okay, thank you.
You know, it's much of the questions or concerns that have been raised regarding that lease agreement, the concerns that have been raised or mirrored the concerns of myself and my colleagues on the school committee, and it's for those exact concerns that were raised why we chose to go in that direction. We spend, you know, the current administration building was supposed to be a temporary structure in 1968, I believe. It's non-insulated, it's electric heat. We spend approximately $30,000 a year just to heat that facility and provide power to that facility. It costs us less to power our elementary schools than it does to power that facility. It's a largely inefficient facility. Within the next couple of years, it's going to need hundreds of thousands of dollars of upgrades, new roof, so on and so forth. And I just can't see putting the taxpayers' money, continuing to put taxpayers' money into that facility. Could I ask for an extra 10 seconds?
10 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I just want the community to know, because it's very important to me, we're not making this move to provide the administration with a larger or lack of luxury executive office suite. The facility that they're moving into is actually smaller square footage than they're currently in. The superintendent's office will actually be smaller than the current superintendent. So it's actually downsizing and looking for efficiency opportunities in the future. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
It's now time for closing remarks, starting with Mr. Cerisi.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to thank the Northeast Independent and the Chamber of Commerce for putting this event together and for everyone coming out and braving the nice weather that this fall has brought us tonight. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the questions. I look forward to serving the community and the students and continuing to work with all the stakeholders involved, parents, teachers, students. I take a lot of pride in having I believe having the ability to sit down and talk with anyone and work with anyone to try to bring parties together and really get things done, and not just talk about it or politic about it. I really like to get in the trenches and work with all the parties involved and get things done. And I appreciate the opportunities that the community has given me over the past several years to do that. And I would ask that on November 4th, you continue to give me that opportunity to serve you and work with you and for you. So I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much.
And also, again, I want to thank the Independent and the Chamber for putting on this forum, and all of you for coming. You know, it's an important part of being an informed citizen to take part in events like this, because otherwise, candidates for public office are at most a letter to the editor and a name on a page. You know, when it's a gubernatorial debate, now you see it on TV and have a little more access to it, though this will also be on public access. But there's no substitute for really coming out and listening to what the candidates have to say, so I thank all of you who are here. Again, like Mr. Cerisi, I'm looking forward to hopefully the opportunity to serve the town and be a member of the school committee. A lot of difficult decisions ahead, and looking forward to having the opportunity to look at the information presented to me and making what I feel is the right decision. I thank you all and ask for your support.
Hey Greg, you can have 10 seconds after.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thank you both.
Thank you.